Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome back to another episode of Connect with the Quran. And may it be beneficial for all of us to learn it, love it, live it. And inshallah, today we'll be looking at Surah Rum. So before we start, I'd love you to just listen to a recording of the first few verses of the surah. This is Surah number 30, Surah Rum. And A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajeem. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We will listen to the recording.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ميم غلبت الروم في أدنى الأرض وهم من بعد غلبهم سيغلبون في بضع سنين لله الأمر من قبل ومن بعد ويومئذ يفرح المؤمنون بنصر الله ينصر من يشاء وهو العزيز الرحيم وعد الله لا يخلف الله وعده ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون ظاهرا من الحياة الدنيا وهم عن الآخرة هم غافلون أولم يتفكروا في أنفسهم ما خلق الله السماوات والأرض وما بينهما إلا بالحق وأجل مسمى وإن كثيرا من الناس بلقاء ربهم لكافرون.
Sadaqallahul Azim. So those were just the first few ayahs of Surah Rum, and it starts with Alif Lam Mim, the same way as the previous surah, so that from that you take it that it is connected with Surah Ankabut. So Bismillah, salatu wassalam ala Rasulillah. And here we start with Alif Lam Mim, Ghulibatir Rum, that the Ghulibat, it will be overcome, it will be defeated. The Roman Empire has been defeated in a land close by, but they, even after this defeat of theirs, will soon be victorious. And within a few years, Sinina fi bid'i Sinina, this is in ayah 4, with Allah is a decision of the past and the future, and on that day the believers will rejoice. And Surah 5, ayah 5 then goes on to say, with the help of Allah, He helps whoever He wills. Yansuru man yasha, Allah binasrillah, with Allah's help, He helps whoever He wills. Huwal Azizur Rahim. So I'll just stop there. And because, 6 will go on, wa'adallahi, that the promise of Allah, never does Allah depart from His promise, but most people don't understand that. And they know but the outer things of life, but the end of all things, they are heedless. So the beautiful thing here is that there's a lot of beautiful things, but let me just come back and to say that this ayah, here it is relevant to talk about the Asbabul Nuzul, where it came down. It came down in the 7th or 6th year of before Hijrah. It's a Makki surah, so it's before it. And the Quraysh are laughing because there's a prediction being made here that the Roman Empire has been defeated by the Persian Empire. These were the two empires on the top of the peninsula of Saudi Arabia. Well, Saudi Arabia now, it was the Arabian Peninsula then, and above Tabuk it was these two powers up there. And We were like the Arabian Peninsula. What's going on in Arabia? It's totally insignificant, irrelevant. That this fledgling Muslim society is coming up. The Khatam al Nabiyyin, the Rasul is there. He's born there. These things are happening. They're too busy fighting with themselves, and the Persians got the upper hand over the Romans. Now, because it was the Christian Roman, what was it called? The Roman Empire was called the Christian Empire of Rome. They had lost Jerusalem to Persia. So the Persians were the mushrik, and you can say that the Quraysh related to them better, that they were like them, and so it was good thing that the Romans got defeated, and we as Muslims had a closer affinity to the people of the book, which was the Christians of the Roman Empire. And so they said, Allah is telling us that don't worry, in a few years the decision, the Romans will be victorious again. So this was going on back and forth. The fact that by the time we were in Medina and the people of the book are not accepting Rasulullah, that's the next phase of life. But for now, this is in Makki Quran. It was good to let the Quraysh know that you think, oh, so you see, even the Muslims have no leg to stand on because they're the Ahl Kitab. The Romans also got defeated. So the Muslims are given these glad tidings, based that it's Allah has a purpose in everything. He's the one and only one who's in everything's in control. So don't you worry. And so it's giving them solace that Allah's perfect justice will prevail, and evil will be vanquished. And using that as an example. So they have been expelled from there since the Romans were Christians. That's why we had a closer regard with them. We have a natural affinity to them. And so the Magians, the Persians, they had sympathies with the idolaters of Arabia. And so the Quraysh were really on a high and making fun of all the directors of the Quran. Say, what's going on? Where's your God? What's this? Your own Romans have been. So that was telling them, don't worry, it will be Ghulibat Rum now, but they will be victorious very soon. سيغلبون. And with this is the background of this particular event, where the surah takes its title and where it takes on. But it's going on with the same idea that there is a math. You can look at what's going on in life now, who's a superpower, who isn't. Russia was a superpower some 10, 15, 20 years ago, and now where is it? And we couldn't imagine it before that. Then there was once a Vietnam War that was going on forever and ever. Didn't look like it would ever end, and then it did. And so on. So 1 to 7 is a brief reference to this victory of the Magians or the Persians over the Romans, and the rise and fall of are incidental happenings. They occur on the basis, the Sunnah of Allah is what counts. And so don't take whatever is happening immediately as the be end and all. Yes, like what's going on in Palestine, we need to worry. We need to not let our voices come down. But at the end of the day, in Allah's scheme, He knows the best. Sometimes you really have to go to the bottom of the well to then rise up again. And how many times it's happened? The history of the Bani Israel is time and again when we have Dawood alayhi salam, and when it said was Sabbit Aqdamana, Ya Allah, please keep up our feet firm on it. So then on 8 and 18, it goes on to say that if we reflect on the system of this world of ours, uh, it will say that there's somebody else in charge. You've never been in charge. And I love 9 when it says, "Awalam yasiru fil arde fayanzur kayfa kana aqibatul lazina min qablihim." So have you not traveled through the earth to see what has become of those before you? And they were much more superior. So if the Quraysh think they're something now, no, there have been empires much greater than them, be it the Pharaoh, be it now these Persians and others. And greater numbers have been defeated by a smaller number. And in the long run, evil is the extreme. It will have the end, and for those who reject faith and held them up to ridicule. So we'll see who will have the last laugh. So this was from 8 to 18, that you can reflect on these things. And then it goes on to say from Further on from where are we? Glory to Allah, you've reached, and praise be to Him, morning and evening. And He's who brings out the dead. This is in 19, from the living, and the living from the dead, and who gives life to the earth when it's dead. So, time and again, Allah also brings out the argument, or the, saying, and we see this when we're in winter, everything is barren land and everything, and the rains come, and summer comes, and everything starts flourishing. So, look at the outside world of how this repetition and how things change. So just, yes, we're told to look outside the world and look at, what's going on the geopolitics, and don't take that as final. And yet at the same, because then look at your earth and your nature, and how there's a cycle in that too. So at 30 to 35, it goes on to emphasize that Rasulullah, um, to him, to that it is to do with our fitra, and the religion is based on the institute it is, and it is based on the fitra. So this is from there. And then from what do I have? Then we have from, it's up to 30 to 30, 45, I said, from 46 onwards to 60, which is the tail end of the passage. We have uh, from 46 to 60 when it ends, that Allah again gives references to historical arguments. The promise of Allah is true. He will help the believers as good news. Quran is sufficient for those who have intellect. And that's the other beautiful thing that it comes up. So from 46, 48, about the winds and so on, that He's created you, then He gives you strength, and then He makes you weak again. And this, so He's just showing us at every multiple levels, bigger the earth level, look in your own hearts and in your own places, and how you survive, how things go wrong. So this is just in a nutshell the overview up to be, and it's not a long surah; it's only 60 ayahs. But we will get into a bit more detail in the second passage. But we'll just go for a short break now, and then come back. So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. So, Surah Rum, the highlight of Surah Rum is that it's one of the examples of saying, in the Quran, the miracles of the Quran. The Quran is a standalone by itself. It doesn't need authentication by anything else. But as an argument, sometimes you say, but there have been prophecies in the Quran which have come to pass. And the classic example given is from Surah Rum, when Ghulibat Rum, because this happened, and within the 10-year span, the tables turned again, and the Romans reconquered and gained the lands from the Persians. I'm not going into the whole history. There's a lot written up. You can look on it. But basically, the key is to say that the Quran is from Allah, so it can say what it likes. It can tell you that Allah is not shy to give an example of a gnat, and they say, well, what does Allah mean by, why is He using these misal? In the previous surah, it was talking about Ankabut, about the spider. Allah is not shy for that. So time and again, and this is still Makki surah, so you'd think we tread politely, with on eggshells, and be careful how you do. Allah would give it as it is, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was told to take it to them and give it as it is. And it's like, you little, you've got nothing, and you're talking, so confidently. But that's the beauty of the Quran, and we too need to stick. So while we may not have the geopolitics is not in our favor, we're not in charge of the seas and whatever's going on in it, the Red Sea or in the Arabian Gulf, and all that on the Strait of Hormuz and so on. But no, we have to hang on to the Quran, and the Quran we will be victorious eventually, and also always look at the long haul. You know, the way we don't get cornered into depression or into anything is because this life isn't final anyway. For never for an instant are we to think that, oh, and we do. I mean, we do get flustered and panic and, you know, palpitations and God knows what else. But that's because I am losing sight, we are losing sight of the bigger picture. And there has to be a learning in it all. There has to be a learning in it. Allah says, you know, He tests us only as much as we are capable of. And the ayah of this surah, you know, because in all these surahs, I love to give you one ayah or two ayahs which I love to learn and know, so that I know, oh, this is in Surah Ankabut, this is in this surah. Some surahs I'm not so, immediately be able to pull out that this is in Surah Hajj and this is in Surah Mu'minun. But if we can do that throughout the Quran, you will just have a greater love, a sense of learning from it, like, you know, remembering what Ramadan is for, what Salah is for, why we're born, remembering all these. And so the other one, which in fact, at least it comes in two times, and I haven't checked if it's more, but the beautiful in Ayah 9, and then it repeated again in Ayah 42, and this time I'll read you the Ayah 42, which says, قُلْ سِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَانْظُرْ كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ كَانَ أَكْثَرُهُمْ مُشْرِكِينَ. So look at what happened to those people before you, and most of them were mushrik. So time and again, I'd love to collect the Siru fil ard ayahs, which means travel through the earth. And just as a, by the way, I'm going to tell you, when the internet was first surfacing in the late, in the 80s, eight, no, 80s, 90s, 92, or whatever it was, there was a Muslim group who tried to set up their own search engines, and they did develop it. It didn't get very far, but they did name it Siru. And I used to say, what is Siru? And they said, no, it means travel, search. Go around and travel and see, because that's what we do in a search engine. We're traveling all over and looking at things. So what happened to those superiority? So for me, the take-home lesson of Siru fil ard, and of traveling through the earth, or looking at history, because history is also connected, is to a take-home message. What is my take-home message? What is my take-home message from Surah Ankabut, from Surah Rum now, is that when we travel, and now again post-COVID, it's become easier to travel, whether we only want to go to the three Haramain, and we should be going to Al-Quds and all that. But what is, because what you witness with your eye, what you see directly, and what you experience in your travels, the ups and the downs, the missing the flight, the not getting this, or whatever it is, issues you have, and the growth you have of learning how to deal with it, is all to do with a take-home message. And here, the biggest one that Allah time and time repeats about Siru fil ard is about what the non-believers, the disbelievers do wrong, how they were there and they're down there, and everywhere. We don't always get to go and see the ruins of Pompeii, the ruins of Petra, and of other places. But beyond that, even within the living of whether where Europe was, where Europe is, looking at their ruins, is that these are all moments of reflection, and to see where are we. So the solace for us as a take home, to take our children or something, I didn't get this, and the way children do, it's not the end of the world. Tomorrow's another day, and the akhirah is the ultimate goal you're preparing for. So how we can wean our children away to have the bigger picture, and not feel that the little tablet and their cartoons and whatever they're hooked on is the be end and all. We always have to somehow bring them out of that this isn't your only life. Have a look, Siru fil ard, take them here, take them somewhere else, and show them, and they can get distracted. So whether it's from tiny toddlers to preschool to school, we need to have the ability to use the imagination with, and the Quran is full of examples, to use that in our daily living to bring somebody out of the despondency and this is why we have these beautiful programs also about saying, don't be despondent, don't feel we are helpless. The first thing that shaitan loves to do is put the doubt in us that we're good for nothing unless you don't party, unless you don't follow the mainstream media, unless you don't follow what they do, you are not going to be heard, or you will have no particular value. And there is a self-esteem we have, but Allah always brings our self-esteem to connect it with the Quran, and then also from this example about drawing arguments using from us, man inside, what's external to us and what is within us, and to connect that always to the promise of Allah, to the Tawheed of Allah, and to the Akhirah, that there will be a day of consequence. So knowing that day of consequence gives us also a great deal of solace. So, one of those ayahs that I love is when he says that you will become, after you're old, so then we get Alzheimer's, we get dementia, and you see decent people and now they're not quite with it. So Allah gives you that example too. Now, is that going on for them, or are they there a means for us to jack up, for us to correct ourselves? And if we've seen our elders do that, to have that humility and knowing that I'm sitting here upright, fine, my eyes are working, my ears are working, that means that I'm something cool. It's all from the gift of Allah. It's all from gratitude to Him. And in remembering all these things in things, Tawheed, Risala, Akhirah, remembering your akhlaq, remembering the history of how things, what goes around comes around, and all that. The whole point of all that is not just as an outside screen seeing something there, it needs to always be here. Where am I? Who am I judging? When am I getting my palpitations? When am I getting triggered? When is this happening? All that needs to come back. And the truth is that, yes, we see it out there, but being moment to moment aware as a mirror to where I am, where my actions are going, what am I doing post Ramadan? Have I got my act together? What am I doing is what we need to be on the 24/7. And the Quran is then, scattered gems of different types. Some people, they talk about carrot and the stick, about warnings and good news. Some people come on track with the good news, like I told you that Umar Farooq radiallahu anhu, he wrote a letter to somebody who was going astray, and he reminded him of all Allah's good sifat as it will come in Surah Ghafir, Ghafir Zambe, and so on. So, and that, it gives you hope, and then you want to come back on track. And then some people are reminded that, look, this is, and some people are also awed that what's going to happen in the Akhirah, what's going to be your end if you don't trust. So that also helps them come back and repent. Them and myself in first place. So it's useless with me talking or anybody else talking about somebody outside. We need to take heed from all of these things of what is it, the take-home message for me, especially when it's talking about the signs of the akhirah, of in the universe, the sleep, the day, the night, the ships, the signs, all of that. How is that not a subhanallah moment? And the truth is that, alhamdulillah, sometimes when you are in a subhanallah moment, all your worries sort of go, Allah is in charge. What am I worried about? If the child at school, the child not at school, the high school exam, the non. So the take-home message for me with Surah Rum is that the fact that it was Ghulibat al-Rum, and then they will win again, is for us to remember in our life. We will always, inshallah, stick with Allah, stick with the Rasul, with the Sunnah, and inshallah we will be the victorious ones in the Akhirah. And that's our game plan, is for the Akhirah ultimately. So with that, I hope there was something beneficial said and heard. And inshallah, we will continue next time with the next surah, and Surah Luqman, also another beautiful surah. But for now, it's Subhana Rabbika Rabbil Izzati Amma Yasifun, wa Salamun Alal Mursaleen, walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. La 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 la.